Hello, this is our final presentation by Hector and George Francis. Disclaimer, my computer lags, so the slides might freeze up a little bit. Our first work is number 141, The Migration of the Negro, panel number 49 by Jacob Lawrence. The medium is tempera on masonite, made in 1940 to 1941. The size is 1 foot 6 inches by 1 foot. The Phillips is in the Phillips collection in Washington, D.C., United States of America.
So, what is this thing down the middle of this painting here?
Oh, my friend, that is a gold barrier that separates these six figures. An arrow. Um, each figure looked individually. They all seem isolated in their own bubble, in their own world, except these two. But they're sitting together. But looking at them individually, they seem like they've been through stuff, and they're not really talking. They're not together, almost like they're by themselves. The whites are on the left, um, only two whites, and the blacks are on the right, four blacks. And by the way, this figure seems smaller because Mr. Lawrence wanted him to be farther away in the perspective, sort of. Only the white figures have facial expressions. This guy has a sort of angry facial expression holding the newspaper with his hands. Lawrence emphasized that with his huge hands. This guy seems like he has no clue what's going on in his life. The black people have no facial expression, but by their body language, we could tell that how they feel and what they are. So this is the content or how it was created. It was created with Cason Tempera paint. It's painted on masonite again, but masonite is also hardwood as well. No mixed paint just means that Mr. Lawrence didn't mix his paints. Mean for each hardwood he he took, the color didn't change because he wanted a specific color and he didn't want a discoloration. And
So, George, what is synthetic cubism?
see, my friend, that's the style. It's synthetic cubism. It's synthetic cubism is expressive figures with mask-like faces that act out causes and consequences in stage-like spaces. A consistent palette of blue, green, orange, yellow, and gray-brown to ensure the visual integrity of the whole. Mr. Lawrence uses some of those colors in this painting, um, and he has a lot of space, and the colors they all just go well together, and all that. Yeah, yes, and the form and the context. Um, the forms they look like they are hovering, like they're in space, like there's no gravity, sort of almost. Um, we could see the tabletops of each table. And we could see everything that's on it. Looking at each figure, we could see individually how they are and what they are doing and how they are feeling and the sense of what happened to them, sort of. And we got this is from modernism again, because it spoke for the African Americans and let them express themselves. Because modernism was like a gateway and like a key, and like it spoke out. It let people express themselves. It let them be themselves. It let them be concerned with what they wanted to be concerned with. So it was very important for black people too. And again, synthetic cubism, it used simple shapes, squares, circles, triangles, lines. Um, there's really no depth like in this painting, because it's really none. And there's bright colors like the barrier in the middle of the painting. And the Italian masters have influenced Mr. Lawrence because he uses their technique of tempera paint. And these Italian masters were Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Donatello, and Mr. Michelangelo. And the Harlem Renaissance was very important because it allowed for black artists and also musicians to gain more control and help them express their culture of being African American. And it allowed them to show the hardships they had to go through to live their lives because it wasn't very easy for them to live and be normal in a sense. The Harlem Renaissance was also the setting stone of the civil rights movement in the United States. Functions: migration of African Americans after World War One. World War One changed Black people's lives and also a lot of people's lives, not just Black people, because it made them move to different parts of the United States. They moved from the agricultural South, where they had to work a lot in the fields and stuff, to the urbanized North, where they still had to work, yeah, but it was harder because it was a new territory for them because the whites were the ones who lived up there mostly. Um, and it traumatized most of the Black people, like it did Jacob Lawrence. Um, and so World War One allowed Mr. Lawrence to pursue art, and he, at a young age, started drawing these paintings of how Black people felt and how and what they had to go through to fit in and to be a part of life. And it shines a light on Black people as well. He painted so many of these paintings, and they're part of a series of works called the Migration series. Um, you can find them at the Phillips collection as well again, um, which showed his dedication because he made so many, and it represented his people because he wanted that, and he again lived a hard life. These African Americans in this time, they had so many hardships, and he wanted to show that through his paintings. And segregation also was an influence to him because a lot of people were racist to Black people, so he wanted to also show how unfair it was for them to live in these times, and the way people were racist towards them and weren't very nice to them, and where they had to live in worse conditions, which wasn't really fair. So he really wanted to show that and make people aware in his art. Other works by Lawrence. Um, Harriet Tubman series, 1940, panel number 4. Bar and Grill, 1941, and Self Portrait, 1977. The first two are in the same years he made the migration of the Negro. You can tell because they both use bright colors. So Harriet Tubman series, the yellow, the red, the white, the background as well. Not really much of a depth like the migration of Negro, but there is still some. And the Bar and Girl, you can tell that there is sort of depth, but not really. It still uses bright colors. It's very similar to the migration of the Negro because it separates the whites and the blacks again. How the whites are on the left side of the painting and blacks on the right, and this is like the gold barrier in the migration of the Negro because it like makes a wall in the middle showing their separation and how they're on different sides. And his self portrait, he has grown a lot, so he has learned to have more detail in the face, of course. Still uses bright colors like this red and some of these colors in the back. And so he has really learned more and evolved as a artist. And so other related works. On the left side, you have the Allegory of Law and Grace by Lucas Cranach the Elder. Um, is it's similar, has a connection with the migration of the Negro because it's the tree has a separation of the Christians and the Lutherans, which is similar to the migration of the Negro because it separates the whites and the blacks. And this other work, The Steerage by Alfred Stieglitz, because um, both of these works also separate people. For the steerage, it shows the poor people separated from the more comfortable rich people, and you can see them looking down. And it also shows division between them.
So for the second work that we're going to be looking at today, it is work number 150, Lipstick Ascending on Caterpillar Tracks by Claes Oldenburg in 1969 and installed in 1974. This was Oldenburg's first major art piece. Its dimensions are 740 centimeters by 760 centimeters by 330 centimeters, which is 292 inches by 299 inches by 131 inches. The medium for this work is quartz steel, aluminum, cast resin, polyurethane NM, and its location is at Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut, in the United States. So content, what we see in this piece is a lipstick.
So hold on, what is the lipstick standing on?
That's a great question. So the lipstick is placed on top of caterpillar tracks, which are very common on militarized vehicles such as tanks. This work also features materials from everyday life, and we can see on this work the weathering steel. So the form, this work is made with inexpensive and perishable materials.
So another question, what is the tip made out of?
That's a great question. So the tip of this work was originally made with inflatable vinyl balloon tip. This was meant to be temporary, as the balloon was supposed to be um, filled up with air and then deflated after. However, due to several malfunctions in the system, it was removed to be uh, put with refurbished steel instead to be permanent. The plywood tracks also show the inexpensive and perishable materials that this work was made with. It has a heavy base, and its lipstick has spiral designs, as we can see on the shaft, and is elongated. This work rejects traditional norms, as the materials and the combination of the two items were very awkward and unseen before. This work goes to feminine versus masculine qualities, such as the lipstick being very feminine and the caterpillar tracks of a motorized vehicle being more masculine. So the form slash context. This work belongs to the pop art movement, which gathered momentum in the 1950s and gained a climax in the 1960s. It uses materials from everyday life and items of mass popular culture, such as lipstick being very popular, and as this was in a period of the Vietnam War and coming out of World War I and World War II, military vehicles were also very much into popular culture, so the Caterpillar tracks belong in that as well. It glorifies the commonplace, and art in this movement is not meant to be satirical. It is a reaction against abstract expressionism. Themes themes in this work include gender, consumerism, and war. Oldenburg had experimented with lipstick forms earlier in the 1960s, pasting catalog images of lipstick onto postcards of London's Piccadilly Circus. The resulting collages showed lipstick tubes looming like massive pillars over Pilates Plaza. In the Yale sculpture, the artist combined the highly feminine product with the masculine machinery of war. In doing so, he playfully critiqued both the hawkish, hyper-masculine rhetoric of the military and the blatant consumerism of the United States. In addition to its feminine associations, the large lipstick tube is bullet-like, making the beauty product seem masculine or even violent. The juxtaposition implied that the U.S. obsession with beauty and consumption both fueled and distracted from the ongoing violence in Vietnam. Functions. So, for functions, this work was installed secretly in Banning Plaza at Yale Plaza. It overlooked the office of Yale President and a World War One memorial. This shows that the work was anti-Vietnam War, and it was also used as a platform for public speaking against the war and a rally point for demonstrations as well. A utilitarian function of this work is the balloon tip before it was replaced with steel. So the balloon tip was meant to be comically inflated and then deflated. So other works by Oldenburg, there is the Bottle of Notes in 1993, the Giant Soft Fan in 1967, and the Plug in 1970. So similarities between all of these works are that they are rather large scale sculptures that are meant to be viewed in the round, and they also depict common domestic objects such as the bottle, the fan, or the plug. This is the objects that people are familiar with and that they may have in their homes as well. The art by Oldenburg is sometimes comic, and we can also see, like by the melting of the fan, that it also is meant to evoke a certain emotion out of the viewer. Some of his works, like The Plug, are just placed in sort of an awkward position, like it should not be how it is currently viewed. And the bottle of notes also shows an object that is familiar to most people. However, there are holes in the bottle and notes there, which make it um, different from what most people are used to. So, other related works. The column of Trajan relates to the lipstick ascending on caterpillar tracks due to its um, elongated shape that goes upwards towards the sky. The column of Trajan also has spiral motifs, which show the story of Trajan that go all the way around until the top of the tower or column. The lipstick ascending on caterpillar tracks has spiraling motifs, however, they are just at the shaft and do not continue all the way up. The war scenes on the column of Trajan also relate to the caterpillar tracks on the lipstick because of the war background that both of the pieces have. The Vietnam War Memorial also relates to the lipstick ascending on caterpillar tracks due to its warlike nature, and the palette of King Armor also relates to it due to its makeup being placed on the palette, which relates to the lipstick, and the war scenes which relates to the caterpillar track.